from Viva Las Vegas, right? Because, we understand that Las Vegas is a different kind of city. Well, they say that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and I can say not necessarily so. Because the people who are born here and the people who are raised here, well, they travel. Then maybe they come home, but they do travel. And when you're born in America, you're just born in the USA. Let's see if we can get some people in the room when you choose to step up. It's this one thing that our community is established, and they have set it up for us because we're broken people, and I do mean broken, and broken. You understand what I'm saying? Because we don't even have great family. Because we don't even have great families. I'll say that. There are some, and we are no more than Americans, and we are no more than Americans. And so many people do nothing, absolutely nothing, to claim this country. But they pay the taxes. You get it? They pay taxes because taxes is something that they've always done. And it is what we do in America, as we are who we believe we are. And, hey, it is what it is. So I will say, welcome to America, but welcome to this great day. We live under a nation where entertainment seems to be the key for you and for me. And entertainers, irregardless of their status and stature in life, are the ones that they pay the money for taxes, right? Well, they have conversations, and then they're told what they can and cannot say. In America, understand that it is you. And whatever your journey has been up until this time, or until the end of time, was where you're supposed to be. And I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. Because, I'm where people who are living, who are older than me, that have less knowledge than I. And I only say that because, public education is what I love to talk about. Why do I love to talk about public education? Well, because, people act like special education is a disease. And it is not. It is clearly the closest thing to Burger King, I'll say, than anything, because life is about what you need, not necessarily what they would like to give you. And good morning, Tracy. I hope you're here listening. And here we are, living in America to understand what? Understand that, do we matter? And do we really matter is the question. As I'm an American, and yes, I matter. But I'm concerned that I'm living in a state that doesn't recognize public engagement. Because, you see, they award federal grants to not-for-profit agencies, and then those agencies send a representative from their community of who they have hired to represent you. And then those agencies don't even get out the door to include you in the conversation. No, they have people that are hired that are running around trying to represent you, and they don't know who you are, and they don't know your struggles. And, we simply have this power bill that is too high. And because I live in a community where you're not allowed to have solar, no, yeah, because it is whatever. I don't understand what the rule is around that, but I'm going to have to find out. But you don't know anything, honestly. You know nothing unless you are with the right people. Because people seem to make the world go round. People make the world go round. There was a song like that. And I do recall it. But I also recall that, we're not making it. And as people, I see we're not making it because we're not talking about public parenting. Like, parenting is key. Nobody tells you what's going to happen after you have the baby. And then the baby is so much needy. And then people don't have patience. And people are abusing these babies. But nobody teaches you what you need to know. I was so grateful to have my mother. My mother was in my life for 85 years. And it was a blessing to know what to do. And then yesterday I was at Costco and I seen all those people, and it was so windy yesterday. Everybody can agree. But babies get colicky, meaning that they cry when too much air and like they have to sleep. But they have newborns walking around not covered up. I mean, nobody tells these new parents anything anymore because they're not coming from strong families. I believe that there are so few strong families left in America. But I do know that my mother demanded that we were what? That we always acted like families. And she had multiple fathers. And this is what I'm talking about, the broken family. We as Black Americans across this nation are just broken. Broken because, and they had this young boy talking about he was planning on selling guns to some gang. And I'm saying, well, I just want to know what the policies are around gun sales and how would he even have the money to purchase. And that's what they really wanted to understand, the purchasing. But do you know if you purchase a gun for anybody, that you as an individual could be a felon and be criminally charged for purchasing those guns because it's against the law here in Nevada. You can't purchase a gun for anybody else. Know that. And so the red flag should have went off when he went to go purchase more than one gun. And I'm just saying, he wasn't told the rules, but he was arrested because he violated the rules. And I'm saying ignorance is not bliss. Happy day. But ignorance ain't never been bliss. And then I'm just trying to understand, they have this policy here. And you see, it's interesting because I'm going to take this jacket off. It's getting kind of warm. But it is called the harbor. And for the harbor, you could be a habitually disciplinary problem. That's why I got to stand up, take the jacket off. And what is a habitual disciplinary problem? Well, that's somebody that anybody can join in and add to your disciplines, chart. I remember I went to an Office of Administrative Hearings for a young man who was in the 8th grade, supposedly, but he was in a special ed class. And he had over 150 pages of issues of willful defiance. And I just didn't understand what that was all about because there was actually nothing written in those notes except for his behavior outburst. And nothing in regards to how they attempted to turn it around. Nothing in regards to the services that were offered to him. And then when the teacher came into the hearing, he admitted that the boy was in the 8th grade, but he was not even at the 3rd grade level. And so, he was acting like they were just there to babysit. And they are really. I mean, if you as a parent are not monitoring what a child should learn in the 1st grade, in the 2nd grade, in the 3rd grade, it's not happening, boo, because there are not people who look like you that are participating. So, truly, you are on your own. What do I mean by on your own? Hell, you're just on your own in America. You are on your own as an American citizen. You are just on your own. And what does that mean? That means that if you never bother to go to the meeting, then you'll never know. You just keep paying those taxes, boo. What do we do now? Just keep paying those taxes. Because, there's a thing called cabaret tax here in Nevada for entertainers. And those entertainers have to pay a certain amount for their taxes. And they just do. And, Monique was here. She was on Regency. They call it Regency. That means that they have a place to perform. And, and Sammy Davis, I guess he owns some shares in some of the community casinos here. But my question is that why is it that there are 11,000 something African Americans in the public school system, and maybe even more? I'll say that because I really don't know the numbers. But from the number of children who are mandated to participate in public education here, only 7% or less than 4% of them are scoring with the ability to move on to the university. And I said, well, you know what that means, don't you? That means that the rest of them are in the harbor because they have an 88% population of Negro children in the juvenile facilities here in Nevada. So you paying for the upkeep of those children. And now they're trying to get to where those people, you know, might want to go into lithium farming, whatever, and to work off some of their time. And they do convict leasing in the South, in the southern states. But here in America, here in Las Vegas, why is it that so many children are not scoring at or above the 40th percentile for reading and math? Because that's the peak line that they've chosen. But when their children are enrolled and they're in the rural areas, well, they're getting something called a millennial scholarship. And it is money that is set aside by the state to help families with their children and the public education process. And I'm saying, well, that might be fine if the children who were not forced to go to school are punished, or the families who don't have housing lose their children to the system, and then you just simply arrange to pay $50,000 benefit to people who would take on these burdensome children. Foster care is a business here. There are places that actually have 14 people living in a home, and then the federal government came in and shut them down because they weren't following the process. You know what I'm saying? Meaning that they had to have certain things aligned in order to get the money from the federal government, and the federal government came in and shut them down. Boom, 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 boom. They didn't believe that was going to happen. Bet you they didn't, but it did happen. And what else they don't know is that they didn't do what they should have done. All these people got jobs. Now imagine that. They got jobs and they were not doing the work. So the federal government is threatening to take that $785 million sitting in the cubbyhole of Clark County that didn't get implemented because they did not follow the rules. And did you not know that the rules are simply the rules? And if you follow the rules, there is an opportunity for your children to graduate above proficient. Oh, there's Michael Rosenberg. He's on Instagram right now. He's my favorite champion. Why? Because Michael Rosenberg was the state disabilities counselor for Area Board 3. And under Area Board 3, let me see. He was paid for, well, let me get this right. C-H-A. I'm stopping for a second because people really just here in Nevada, they have this thing with technology, and technology is awesome, believe me. But if you're in a Zoom call and you have restrictions, then perhaps you should understand that I don't care about monitoring me, but understand the rules are still the rules, and I'm a citizen and I have a responsibility to speak out on when I see injustices happening. And for the families who have young children where there are no services and these parents are harming their children, well, I just want to understand what the Department of Health and Human Services has established for support for families for early learning. Because believe it or not, the federal government requires that all babies by the age of 3 be assessed to determine if they're going to have language abilities, or, because if they're not ready to speak fluently when they enter into early start, it becomes problematic because they can't communicate with the other children. But believe me, Head Start is an awesome program. And I understand that maybe they have two. They have two agencies running Head Start centers here. And one is Oscillero, and the other one is some children thing. I'm not exactly sure, but I did find out this weekend because I got to meet the young lady that is over early learning here in the state of Nevada, because there was this village thing that was going on in honor of Linda Young, who was a board member for Clark County School District for a long time. But I'm telling you, as a nation, it is we the people. And we, the people, need to understand that community engagement means you and me. It doesn't mean that it's an appointment from an organization that got the grant that needs to stay abreast of what's going on. No, it's everyday citizens. And because I'm living in the greatest state, I believe, because it's a nation of senior retirees. And what the AARP program could probably do here is give these seniors a little bit of extra change in their pocket so they can afford to pay the power bill, because the power bill is $451 monthly. And then when your rent, my rent was $540, but it didn't went up. Now it's $680. And I'm just saying, they don't take into account that you're on a limited budget as a senior citizen, because I'm senior too. See, all that white hair. This means senior, right? I've learned some things, but what I haven't learned is white people don't do oversight. And white people have all of these jobs, and to make something happen awesome for the community, so that seniors feel safe and children feel safe, and there should just be safe places in 2025. But it's not anymore. And when schools are threatened with people who would tantrum through a problem, not have really good skills to communicate effectively, and and then we have all this violence in these families. Well, I think that we as a nation, well, this is one thing why I didn't really have a problem with who's in the White House right now, because it is we the people. And states' rights means that everything is dropping back down to the state. That means you and me are going to have a conversation, because this is the awakening. And they want to talk about the woke crew or diversity inclusion. Well, you can either include yourself or exclude yourself. It's really you, because the beach is always waiting for someone to bring a bottle and watching the ships roll in, because you could just watch from the sidelines, or you could choose to say, this is what I see. And what you might see is problematic, but this is how we might be able to fix it. And I'm saying that I believe that the Biden-Harris administration had the best idea, because all 3-year-olds would have been enrolled in an early start program in 2024. But as it stands, it is looked at like free childcare. And in a nation or a city or a state or a community that struggles to have employment for families, and we want everybody to be employed, right? Something's happened in LA. I gotta look. I'm sorry. I only got one device here, and then Oscars. You see, you can choose to live in the fantasy too. We all have that choice. And if I wanted to just hang out and go to a place or a facility and just chill, I could do that. I don't have to be sitting here, but I can say I could have always done that. I didn't have to go to the board meetings. I didn't have to listen to what they were doing. I didn't have to encourage people to get together and let's look into this CASA thing that was going on in Sacramento, because Jim Sweeney had written a book. It was problematic for me because he had written a book and was promoting his book as a superintendent of Sacramento City Unified School District. And then he hired all of the administrators and he gave them a higher salary. He did. And he hired them as his own company. And then he took their money as employees and put it under the PERS, the stock market thing. And then PERS wasn't aware. Nobody was paying attention to what he was doing. He was just doing it. And then when Reggie Fair, who is an educational lobbyist, me and maybe about 6 other parents got him to ask the question at the board meeting about what CASA was really all about. And that morning, by 9 o'clock at night, Sweeney had decided that he was going to retire. And that's exactly what he did. He came in 9 a.m. that next morning and retired. And then he had Shreddick come there and he shredded every piece of evidence that would have incriminated him. And then he left. And then the district just kept operating. But, you know, it's the games that people play. You know, in California, they have SELPAs and special education area local plans, and people who participate in the SELPA would be the districts or whatever, you know what I'm saying. And then they say what they're going to do for children with abilities or inabilities. And then they provide those. But you know, I just had every resources. We had every resource that we could possibly have, because that's where we began in the medical field. Simply, my son had epilepsy, and then epilepsy is a brain disorder. That's what it means. That's what it means. But we had language inabilities, and my son learned how to speak. He had speech and language development all the way. And guess where that language development was coming from? Kaiser. Now, I don't know the health services here in Nevada. I don't believe that there are many, but I believe that those women who have opened up a school for autistic kids are in those programs. But you see the services they have for the people who may be looking like me. Well, it's just different. They have the harbor, and then people write RFPs. Those are RFPs, a request for a proposal, boo. And then they say what they're going to do for you. And then they start doing it. And it doesn't, and because third-party providers are not required to bring any data in, the data is left to the district. And then the state says, well, they can't get the data. And the district says, well, what are we going to do? And they've done nothing over all this time, no data. And then they say, well, they could get 2 years worth of data, but then they want to have these waivers. And I'm saying, a waiver? Who said you could waive my rights? I'm saying that's unacceptable. And I'm saying, okay, waiver. But guess what? The money is still sitting on the table. And the governor's trying to figure out how to spend that money. So they're opening up a place for children who are foster care because, see, under the Every Child Succeed Act, ESSER was a requirement that for children who didn't graduate, at least at the 8th grade level. That's why it's important to give these kids these certificates of completion. You don't understand. They're just promoting them to the streets. And what they didn't think about is the federal government also requires that they have to demonstrate who got employed after 2 years or so, you know, that they pushed out the door. And they don't think it's fair. And I don't care what they think is fair or not fair. I want to know about the 88% population of Negro children in the juvenile facility. And perhaps they can also add about the 38%. Is it 38? I think so. 38% population of Negro children in the foster care system. Because simply, I've seen enough. When the black babies are walking around, hanging around these elderly people's necks. And they get paid. And I don't know how much the monthly is, but I do know because of kinship. And kinship was created by the federal government now, just like the Constitution. And it was supposed to be bringing support, but not necessarily when it identifies that you too close and you can't get the same money and the funding that a non-related family would get. And I'm saying enough is enough, because this is nothing but I say GOTDAM, but who's got to do it? Somebody's just got to do it. And they do it every day. So, it is what it is. We can talk about education because you don't understand what you should be understanding. I'm going to do my hair later. But you just don't understand what you should be understanding because you don't know. And if you did know, then guess what? Perhaps you too would be alarmed because this is 2025 and it is 2025. And what are we doing? You know, I was able to go to that Nevada convention thing, the Democratic thing, and then I went and then I recorded something. But my video, I couldn't share it. I was so damn pissed because everybody else in that room was sharing. Why in the hell couldn't I share my video? And then I clicked it so I could demonstrate what I'm saying when I called Apple. You know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden I could share my video. I'm so sick of this shit. Who says I can and I cannot? When did I die? I know my mama died, but it didn't mean I got a new mama. I didn't get no new master. And my husband, my ex-husband, he's deceased too. And I only got married one time. And I don't see a need for getting married anymore because I'm just totally happy. Yes, I raised my 3 sons. And when I said I had 3 sons by 3 different baby daddies, well, it wasn't because I was out there with the hellish behavior. It's just that there are people that look at you in a special kind of way because you didn't have 3 baby daddies. But guess what? The Lord bless me. I'm still living. 2 are in the urn and 1 to go. And the 1 to go, he got to live the harshest life because he never even participated in his child's life. But that was his choice. Everybody has a choice. But I'm raising my 3 sons and I have 1 grandbaby. Uno, just 1. And it's still, the 1 is still difficult because, you know, it's just me and my mother left me in a situation where I didn't have to need my siblings because they're not generous and they don't care about me. You have to love yourself. And perhaps, you know, they know that I'm always going to be their sister and I'm always going to be there for them. But they weren't there for my mama. So I know they're not there for me. You understand what I'm saying? And I know that I'm blessed because the universe has already been there for me. Always has been and always will be. And I have the faith of the mustard seed because it just got to keep on going on. But it is my concern that I have been planted here in Nevada and that I know who the movers and shakers are. I've met the AG. I met the 1 black senator that represents the African American people here. I have met the other senators like Dina Neal and Claire Thompson. And you just didn't understand that these are just ordinary people. You get it? And when you talk to them, they're just ordinary. But when I ask the hard questions, they too are perplexed about the inability. And I'm not, because this is a money thing, boo. We need to make sure that our children are enrolled in the Early Start programs, and then we need to also ensure that we're working in our communities because we just have broken families, boo. But I'm trying to understand how come the black organization that represents the African American people, and then the butterflies were just floating around the table. I mean, the butterflies were floating around the table. They just were. All the people who understand the money that that black organization represents in that room. So they came to, but they haven't been trained, boo. Because if they were trained, that black organization would really have some money to do what? Parent involvement workshops. So, you know, I'm working on trying to get this money together so I can, you know, get my timeshare together so that I can have a workshop on my own. But I can have a workshop right here with you. Because guess what? If you want to learn, then I could pull out my laptop and then we could start from the very beginning because Head Start is the very beginning. And we want to understand that these Head Start parents are being trained as they are not. But the contract with the federal government, Head Start here, requires that they have training and they have a PAC and a parent involvement PAC, meaning that all of the subsidiaries, you know, sub places like all the partnerships with the city, that the city is using Head Start as a partner. Well, we need to understand how they're assessing those children, because under Child Find, if they're saying these children are not ready to enter into early start and they feel that that's an obligation for them to deny, it gives the power of a little kindergarten class or kindergarten teacher to accept or deny a child because they're not ready. Well, what is the city, the state, or the county provided to help them get ready? But then when they say that they can sit on their ass behind their dais and say, well, maybe they won't enter into early start until age 9. And I'm saying, who's going to the penitentiary next? We already know it. And I'm saying enough is enough. Do you think that we are just here for you to harvest? And the harvest is real. So the money comes in, and the money comes in under Title One. Is what is Title One? This chick said, Title One, Title One, Title One. And I'm saying, yeah, Title One requires that 30, 60, 90 days into your school year, you too have a conversation about what's working and what's not working. And do you do that? Oh, you don't follow any of the federal regulations because you don't have any of the data. And the data is everything, boo. Did you not know the data was everything? Even the civil rights data. So you go to usa.gov and you type your city, state, town, county, whatever in. Then you type your little school in and see what they said about the civil rights data, what they said about you, boo, because it's all there. And the only reason it's not there is because your state has chosen not to upload it. And when you go to Clark County shit, zero, 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 nothing is included. They have just decided. But that's what you don't understand. As long as the people within the state are happy with what is the outcome, well, what do you expect? Because you are part of the people too, boo. Just a part of the problem. Is we, the people, are the problem. Gotta have a sip of coffee. It is coffee. And then when I hear Papa Doc, now Papa Doc is out here and he has a different perception. And I tell you, he has that perception because he hasn't experienced what I experienced. And as I did chair the district advisory committee for Title I and compensatory dollars, and I chaired my school site councils, elementary, middle, and high. Well, not middle school, because see, in middle school, I was really still fighting. I got my son into an open enrollment program only because my gifted and talented son was in the program before him, and then he fostered in, he grandfathered in. And then I remember Norm Palikar was the principal, and he wanted to let me know when I got ready to have my IEP meeting, when my son was coming there, that my son would be there like on trial. And I said, oh no, this is his home school. And I said, go check. And he did. He said, how in the hell did that happen? I said, boo, when you know the rules are just the rules. And that's how my son got in. So we got everything we needed when we were over there. And we just did. My son is gifted. And it makes a difference when you know where your skills are and what you need to flourish. And that's, that was my middle child. But my last child, they said, was severely MR. And it really didn't matter because he graduated with a 101 A, a laptop, and above proficient. And I'm saying, does it make a difference? Hell yeah, it makes a difference. Because public education is mandatory, boo. And you have to get through this to get to the other side. And because they pay themselves for our children, and we are still considered the harvest, especially when we are not the people who are picking the cotton. You get it? And our children are considered the cotton. And it is what it is, because, well, if you go to a city like Atlanta, just go. There are people that are working there, and they all look like you. When you get off the airplane, it's just a whole different experience. I bet you that's what it looks like, too, when you go to D.C. There are certain cities and towns in the nation where it's just chocolate city, boo. But then there were songs written about the chocolate city, too. Yep. And I just got to say, you only know what you know based on what? Your experience in life. And if you have a sheltered life or a sheltered life, then that's what it is, boo. Just for you. In America, this is 2025. And I must ask, are you alive? I know that my sister, my baby sister, well, she has a whole different life experience than me. Simply, she retired state, the state of California, and her husband was working for the state of California too. And she's an amazing person. Simply, she was the chief of the legal division for Caltrans, but her father and my mother were amazing people. And then we just have to know that we have I mean, the mayor out there in historic West Side, she's black, and her whole family was at that recognition table. But when you are in the room and all of the black butterflies, the people who make movers and shakers, you get it? But then we can't figure out this racist issue of access. My people, black people, are broken. Simply, they're broken in America as they were enslaved. I can break it down. And as you're coming from not a normal family background, you don't have families. My mother did the best she could. She always kept a man. Yes, she did. Even when she wasn't married, she still kept a man. Me, on the other hand, I decided I wasn't going to go down that route. I had one, and that was enough. And as I tried before, the last time, the third time was a strikeout because that man was simply married and lying about his whole situation. But it really doesn't matter because he lied to himself. And that's why I said he got one foot in the grave, one to go, simply because he never had a relationship with his child. But that was his choice. And understand me when I say everybody has choice. We have all these broken people, and then we harvest that. I mean, everything about America and the mandated public service sector, even if you fail to comply, you are unalive. Do you understand who said that somebody died and gave you a new mama or a new daddy or a new God? But if you fail to comply in America, it means unalivement. Don't get it twisted. I've taught my sons that you do yes, sir, no, sir, I'm sorry, excuse me. But, when I do that, it is just to understand that I know who I am. But I claim my place in America. I'm an American citizen. My children all graduated from school, but I'm concerned with the amount of children that are over there in Black Mountain. I understand it is a juvenile facility up there. I've never been. But there were some who'd like to boast about what's going on in Black Mountain. I don't know. But there's a few people who do know what's going on. They can't explain the inability of the children who are undisciplined because they're coming from broken families. You get it? But see, everything in America, the Department of Health and Human Services, Early Head Start, all these federal programs that have broken off and are creating services, but then nobody looks like you in those programs. They just can't seem, your behavior is so unacceptable that they cannot seem to make sure that anything happens for transition and for you. But when the money is not in the community and only with a few, well, they seem to be controlling those few, and I'm just not one of those people. Not getting that blessing of the extra. You get it? And so here we are, living in America, doing what? Doing exactly what we should be doing and nothing at all. Because when you could be in the room, and then we can't still figure out how many 3-year-olds are enrolled in the Early Start program. And the Department of Health and Human Services has divided itself. It has health services now. And then, I guess food. I don't know what it is. But I know they split the health services off. But you still have to wait in line to get your x-rays or wait to get your services done because there's just not enough health providers here in Nevada. But when we have retirees, retired military folks that are African Americans, retired professional people, well, it is time for you to ask your governor what's going on. Governor, excuse me, governor, because it ultimately lands when the governor's technology division is an ad hoc committee because the state's not doing the work. And the state's just not doing the work. They have a State Department of something, and I haven't found it yet. Just like I haven't found how to volunteer in the community, so I just do me. That's right. I have my podcast. It's called Parent Empowerment Half an Hour. It's over there on Spotify. Believe me, they've not been trying to support it. So they move it. So I need you to share when you get there. And I need you to subscribe because they've decided that I can't make that money, but I can. I can with your help. And then I have some more stuff out here. I have Darlene Anderson 1958 on YouTube. It's YouTube. YouTube is where I am. And then also there is Citizen Anderson over there on Podbeam. I like Podbeam. But quite frankly, I believe that we just need to get in these rooms and have these conversations because I believe you see what I see. But if we don't show up, we ain't getting shit. And that's what I know. So it is time in 2025. I mean, people are losing their jobs and these are people who have been living the good life, who have all those extra bills. And I'm sorry. You got to figure it out too. So it is we the people. And as we the people have not flooded the gates, we haven't come into the understanding that we are the harvest and we need to harvest our own. Well, understand this is 2025 and I am alive. And so until we meet again, I'll say like, I'll say share, and I'll say subscribe. Those are the three things that you have to do in order for us to build capacity out here. And we don't have to ask them to follow Joy Reid or, we don't have to ask. They're taking away our black media. But understand, when we can decide who we are, then we'll just step up and do what it is that we do every day. And that is continue to live. I'll say stay blessed, stay highly favored. And I'll say like, share, and subscribe. Y'all have a blessed day now.